Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Roy's Retro Reviews, where I, Roy Manan, review older video games in my spare time because people want me to and I like doing this stuff. So anyway, today's episode is going to be Sonic the Hedgehog 2, as you've probably been noticing. It was originally released back in 1992 and is one of the very first games I ever played, for those wondering. Sonic the Hedgehog 1 was actually the first game I ever played. That was released in 91. I got a Sega Genesis when I was 2 after begging my parents to get me one for Christmas for like months, and then they caved in. Thus began my gaming ways, I guess. So anyway, the story of Sonic the Hedgehog 2 follows Sonic the Hedgehog, a speed-running hedgehog, and his partner Tails the Fox, a two-tailed fox who can fly for brief periods of time, as they try to stop Dr. Robotnik from stealing all the Chaos Emeralds and using him to power his Death Egg and taking over the world. This is really before storytelling in games was prominent as much as it is today. Usually they had just kind of a background story that they would put on the box or, in the manual to tell you why you're doing what you're doing in the game, and that shows more or less in a lot of the older games. Sonic is one of those examples to where you never really get any story bits, ever. You just keep going stage to stage until you beat the game. So anyway, other than that, this is the first game with Sonic to actually have the Chaos Emeralds, the mystical gems that when you collect all 7 give you awesome powers, and in this case Sonic turns into Super Sonic. By far one of my favorite characters in Sonic, just because he's yellow and flies and delivers death, and he's really fun to play as. In order to get the Chaos Emeralds, there's a gameplay mechanic which I'll talk about soon. So that's the basic story. Gameplay wise, it's very, very simple. You run, you speed dash. This was the first one to where you could do that, where he rolls into a ball and spins really fast. That was the first time that mechanic was introduced. And platform and beat up Dr. Robotnik as you get to the end of every level. It's very simple. It's very fun. The platforming is very, very good. In order to do more precise jumping, you need a little bit momentum. But if you have too much momentum, you'll overjump. So you kind of have to time your running and jumping a little better in order to get to the next platform. You collect rings as you run around. You collect 50 rings, and that unlocks the bonus stage to where you can collect Chaos Emeralds. In order to unlock these, other than having 50 rings, you reach a checkpoint. If you have 50 rings, you'll see a little sparkly thing go around the little orb. If you jump into that, it activates the minigame. And the minigame is Sonic is in like a 3D tube, and you can run side to side, and you collect rings. You have to collect a certain amount of rings before you get to a checkpoint in order to continue that part, or in order to continue. You get to the end, you get a Chaos Emerald. They start off really, really, really easy. Like 1 through 3, I did back in the day, and even now I can do it without even really trying. However, after that, it gets really, 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 really difficult. If you hit, there are bombs placed on the tracks. If you hit those, you lose rings. Plus, you become unable to collect rings for a short period of time, making them a pain in the rear. And they're really hard. And if you collect all 7, if you collect 50 rings and jump in the air, you turn into Super Sonic and you fly around and deliver death, and everything dies at your whims and you run fast. It's really cool. It's also one of the first games that actually I think had like an alternate ending, because there's actually 2 endings, one where you have all 7 emeralds and one where you don't. It's kind of a cool little difference. Nothing huge like secret endings in today's games, but it's a nice little, touch. But anyway, each level is broken down usually into 2 parts. I think a couple of the later ones have 3. But most of them are broken into 2. The first one is, you just run to get to the end and you flip a sign, and that's that. The part 2 or 3 always has a boss. It's usually Robotnik and a even more weird looking robot they have to beat up in order to continue. The first one's really easy, and then they progressively get harder and harder as you obviously go along. And it's one of the things I like about older games in general is, I'm not bashing newer games, but newer games tend to kind of have, it's really, the beginning's really easy, and then it gets, a little bit harder, and then it just stays there. It stays at that little bit harder unless you turn up the difficulty to hard mode, which is probably why they did that. Whereas, games like Sonic the Hedgehog and the original Mario and some of these stuff, is the first stage was easy, and the stages got progressively harder and harder and harder. It wasn't, based on difficulty level, it was based on game progression. It's one of the reasons I like Sonic 2 is, The first levels give you kind of a, you know, a little bit of time to build up your skills, and then the later levels kind of test that until you get to the end. It is beatable, although back when I was like 2 or 3 when I was playing this, I had a little black book with cheat codes in it, and I had a ton for Sonic 2. Well, it was really only one, and it allowed me to unlock Supersonic mode whenever I wanted. It had you know, you start off with all 7 emeralds. It allowed me to pick the stage, infinite amount of lights, all that good stuff. I like my little black cheat book. I wish I had one today, but video games today don't have cheats really anymore. That you need like to push A B B down A start or whatever the code was for Sonic 1 or Contra. Up down left right A B start. Anyway, but yeah, so Sonic will always hold a special place in my heart. And with that, I will now go into the rating system. On Roy's Retro Review, I use what is called the nostalgia factor. It is based off of my memories of playing the game when I was a kid versus my memories of, you know, 50 minutes ago or however long I've been playing it recently, the game today, and it, you know, see where it lines up. Classic means that I like the game now as much as I did back then. I think everybody should go play these games. They're usually very, very well done. They've held up well over time, and they're generally fun, and deserve to be, you know, titled classic games. Fond memories are games that, you know, I have fond memories of. Obviously, I like the game. Playing it now, you know, might not be the greatest game on the planet, but, you know, I still enjoy playing it. I have good memories of when it first came out, and, you know, playing it now, it's just, you know, it relives those memories, and, you know, I can see why I enjoyed it. But, you know, if I were to play it today, honestly, you know, it would be okay, but, you know, it wouldn't be some of my favorite games of all time. I remember it being better is exactly what it sounds like. I remember it being better. When I first played the game, I thought it was really good. I'm playing it now and going, why did I think this game was good? It is pretty terrible. I remember it being better. And the last one is piece of crap. It was a piece of crap when it came out. It's still a piece of crap today. It has not improved over time. In fact, it's probably gone worse. If you've played these games, I feel sorry for you. If you've never played these games, don't go out of your way to download a torrent for it or whatever way you get these older games. Just stay away from it. It's not worth your time. Sonic, I give a classic to. It's one of the few games in the Sonic series that I really, 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 really like. In fact, 1, 2, and 3, and even Sonic and Knuckles, I really enjoy a lot. You start getting kind of iffy in Sonic Adventures. I still like those. There will be probably retro reviews for at least one of those. And Sonic Heroes is when I think everything went to went downhill really, really, really quick. But Sonic 2 holds up really well over time. It's really, really fun. Everything about it is just so enjoyable, and I think everybody should, you know, play it. Like I said, if you can't get access to Sonic 2 for whatever reason, go. If you have access to 1, 3, or Sonic and Knuckles, go play those ones. They're all roughly the same in my opinion. Although I think Sonic 2 is the most refined out of all of them, and in general, I just find it to be the most fun. It also produced Super Sonic, and I have a, you know, kind of a sweet spot for that. So that's it for this episode. Make sure to stay tuned next week for another episode. Subscribe up top to our channel to get the updates on all our videos, reviews, and all the stuff we do on Rule of 3. Like us on Facebook and Twitter and all that good stuff. Leave a comment below if you've played Sonic 2, or, you know, watching the video, it kind of makes you want to play, or if you hate Sonic 2 or you disagree with me for whatever reason, you think, you know, the game's terrible. Just leave comments. I love reading them, and I try to respond to them whenever I can, whenever I have time. So thanks for listening, and always remember to keep those gaming memories alive.